talked about the staggering of games through the weekend or whatever.
Yeah.
It means that people can watch more than one fixture.
It does, and we must look at that and see the impact that has, when maybe stage 2 or 3 comes along, because we'll know more next year. Please God, crowds will be back next year, and we'll look at who's coming, who's staying away from the matches because they bought this. Does that hurt the club? There's a number of things we really have to look at here. But it's great to be going to stage 2, and looking at all that knowledge that we'll have gained, and also looking at the best practices out there who at our stage of life, where did they get to, what did they do next, how is the growth going to happen? Is it worth investing to make sure that growth happens? Will it happen? And what are the pigeonholes where we put money in to make sure that at the bottom of that there will be customers who will come in and support the league? And then how can we get the clubs to build on that so their sponsorship revenues can have so much more clout to it when they go to have those conversations with sponsors? I think until now, could you turn around and say, look, hey guys, we're a League of Ireland club, and we're part of a streaming program here, which is 3.8 million views in 27 days, or 3.8 million impressions. You're building up your case all the time to get bigger, and I think the most pleasing aspect of this in this short period is that we can now move to stage 2, which will be a second run of tickets, of sales, and a knowledge that we'll have some great data to work on so that next season gets bigger and better. But I think it's a step. We believe we've gone one step in the right direction.
And would you propose, or would you be in favour of next season having similar or the same?
I'd like to.
Every game stream.
I'd like to look at that a little bit more. Obviously, at when it's all said and done, when our season finishes, when our curtailed season finishes, and I wouldn't like to make too many assumptions at this point. But what I would like to do is see what worked. How could things work better? What didn't work? And let's try and find, the stage 3, which will be next year, which will be maybe a full season and maybe crowds are back. It will get very interesting then. So I wouldn't rush to conclusions. It was never to be a silver bullet, but as trials go, I hope all stakeholders are pleased enough that it was the right thing to do, and where it can go to. Look, there's a danger. How many startups don't make it, So I'm not going to say we'll be a typical startup, but it does feel that there's something to work on, but a lot of hard work to work on too.
And what about your own position within the FAI? You said you'd extend it, or it was to be extended for a short period and perhaps longer.
I technically I'm out of contract, and I was asked just to stay on, just to particularly till we got to the EGM. And I was happy just to be in and around things till then. And like everybody, like over 200 people who come into this building regularly, daily, Monday's a big day for all of us. And I think I'll wait and see how that goes before I finalise exactly where I'm going, because it might be any point. But hopefully that's not the case.
Would you like to stay on?
I'd like to have an involvement in some shape or form. I really don't know what that is. I knew my role wasn't going to be extended in a normal world, when I went in 6 months ago. I'm not discounting anything at all, really, but I do think there are parts of it that I enjoy more than others. There are some great people in here who've done terrific work in an 18-month period when it must have been so tough for them. I know so much more about the FAI now. As an outsider looking in, I was quick to point out the whole FAI or this or the whole FAI or that. I know a lot more about it. I know its workings. I know that the people, the jobs they do, and I know how good it can become if the unity comes along and the game, really thrives on this opportunity that we've got from government, FIFA, and the Bank of Ireland. So, what that entails, I don't know, but there are bits of it, that I would find, a real joy to be working in and around.
You mentioned unity. There has been a lot of division. Let's be honest.
Sure.
Some of the reasons around that, do you think the casting vote issue is going to be sorted? Do you think the 10-year service for council members is going to be addressed?
I hope so. I believe that's in progress as we speak, and I'm hoping that the combination of what has been put as two different teams, the new and the old, that they can come together in the understanding that actually all of the tweaks are for the better of the game in the long run, and in this period of correction there'll probably be a better understanding of how it was all working, so that when the MOU runs out in time, that they will have a a much stronger and healthier association for it. You know, one of the things that didn't get brought into the narrative there over the last few weeks was actually independence can be a really good thing, you know, and lots of companies would tell you that, you know, that the day they brought in independence was the day that things moved on for them. So I'm hopeful that the mistrust will fade. I hope that they understand that this isn't a group of power people who come in to do something and take something away from them, I should say. That this is a group that just want to see it in the correct vehicle going forward so that it can avail of its opportunity to get out of the problems that obviously it was left in from the previous regime, and that the people in the game are valued. I think that if I look back on where it went in the last few months, and COVID-19 probably has something to do with this, it was that we probably didn't do enough to value what people have done in the game. And I think by the conversation over the last couple of weeks, particularly since the day in the Red Cow, by that conversation, you know, starting to be, I suppose, more about you know, the actual MOU and what it means and how we can best place that so that the game can feel better about it. I think that's been welcome. I think there's a lot more going on, you know, that's, you know, not as public as the Red Cow. You know, there are information webinars that have been taking place with various stakeholders, and I would be hopeful that by Monday, hopeful rather than confident, but I'd be hopeful by Monday that that people will see that, you know, this isn't two sides at each other. This is two that come together and can come together because there'll be trust in the air.
I got a sense, though, the last day we were talking here, that you were very frustrated by the division.
I was frustrated by the division then, and I had no idea how the Red Cow was going to go, but I felt a lot better when it felt that, I think the headline was "Peace breaks out in the Red Cow," so that was a great start. And I think obviously there's a lot of work in the meantime, but if I look back, maybe we could have done more in COVID times to reassure people of what we were and what we were trying to achieve. And that said, it's water under the bridge now, and where we are, I hope that by the time the vote comes around, that people understand that the route to go for the good of the game is to accept the new conditions, but those conditions maybe aren't as fierce as perhaps members might have thought up to now. So we you know, I'd be very, I suppose, strong on letting people know that we understand the frustrations. I certainly do. Gary does. I'm not on the board, so I can't speak about that, but I do know that the good people that have done all the great work in this game, who felt marginalised by entering into this agreement, that hopefully, you know, that their value is maintained, and that their work to now and work that they may do in the future, you know, can be looked at and heralded. I think that's not always been out there, but you know, what I found in my 6 months, as I said to you, I know an awful lot more about it in this building, but I also know an awful lot more about the surrounds and what the FAI looks like outside of here. And I suppose, you know, I think it can, with these new implementations, I think it can go from strength to strength, and it doesn't need to clear out
Last
that people exist.
Have you had an indication, or do you believe that Sport Ireland and the government are prepared to move?
We'll see. I think there's some work being done on that, but again, I can't answer that. I can just sit and hope that everybody gets to the right place, you know, so that we can move on and that everybody is comfortable with it. I think you have Sport Ireland, you have the government itself, obviously the department, you have the bank, and you have UEFA and FIFA, and you have the association. So hopefully we can find somewhere by Monday that gives us the opportunity to go forward.
Yeah.
Niall, hi, it's 1-0 Derry, which is good news.
Very good. That is good news.
It feels a lot longer than 27 days since the thing restarted, and just with the amount of games that have been on, spoken about the games being staggered and all of them being on Watch LOI. And we've had so much go on with Vinnie Perth losing his job, the comments by Waterford manager that were involved in Pub League. We've now got 3 teams involved in the Europa League this week, FAI Cup to come. How would you reflect on the last 27 days of the League of Ireland?
I think the bits that I can control, or not that I can control it, but the bits that I had an involvement in terms of the streaming, you know, and the conversations over potential sponsorship next year, they've kind of took relatively smoother passage than some of the other stakeholders, and football is going through as crazy a time as most other industries. I feel for Vinnie Perth, I feel for Alan Murphy down in Galway, you know, so that there's victims already, you know, but then there's some other stories, you know, bowls are flying, I think that's sorry. Derry winning tonight is that was a good intro to the question. So that hopefully that will stay the way it is.
They're leading. They haven't won yet.
Yeah, they're leading. Yeah, that's true.
We've seen this film before.
You've seen this film before. You have, and it, you know it's look it's a strange time, you know. But I do think the league has done itself a great service by bringing their matches that are behind closed doors to audiences. That audience has to grow, of course, but I think that's been a plus. Would love to have had an ordinary season, but it's an extraordinary season, and there will be victims, and there will be people, you know, who feel that you know it came back to hit them harder than others the way things panned out. But in the circumstances, you know, to have our teams playing in Europe, to have, you know, the chase for the title going on, with Bows coming in there perhaps and taking Dundalk's seat on that journey, it's been good. And it's good that the other even clubs outside, you know, the fact that Cabinteely, Drogheda, people like that are looking at streaming games and bringing it to their people. I think there's been a positive in one way, you know, with the way things went on. But look, it's tough out for every sport out there, but for the league itself in general, you know, back playing, back seeing it on the streaming platform, even on the mainstream TV, the games that are shown, I think it's helped. You know, I'd hate to see the game now or the league now with only the odd game, you know, being thrown, no crowd at all, people wondering how the matches went. What that would have done might have been a bit of damage to the brand, but I think the brand has been really positively enhanced by that. So my sympathies are with those who have struggled, and I suppose the game of football will never stop throwing up, you know, those who do well and those who don't. So you know, Vinny Pert is a good guy, and he'll bounce back, I'm sure. Wish his successor well. As you do, you have to be impartial here. But the story so far, you know, Rovers have been excellent, and Bows are making a fight of it. And there's one or two other ones to answer other parts of it. Look, I have no role in adjudicating over what managers say and do what they do. I don't like the negativity that comes out when those conversations were made public. With the Waterford manager, who I know well, so it's not good. I think all sides would do that. I've got no power in my role in here to do anything about that. But let's just hope that the positives outweigh all those negatives that you've mentioned. So yeah, it's not good. I would expect, but, you know, that there would be a bit of embarrassment about how that came out.
Yeah, and for someone who's worked so hard to get the league back, do you hear a manager recently appointed who's being paid by League of Ireland club to refer to our league? If he did say it, which we know reason to doubt Vinny Pert, it's not helpful. I'm not sure it's not to anybody involved.
Chez an old pal of mine. I spoke to him obviously when he got here, and I did say to him, if I'm allowed move from Kildare, and it's called essential business, I'll come down to him. Then the situation happened, so I haven't spoken to him since. But I have no authority to do anything about that. I think Mark probably is best placed to talk about, officially doing that. But I think he'll be John will be a bit gutted the way that all came out, and it's not good. It's not enjoyable. But he'll know that. Yeah.
Interested to find out. Every time there's news from the government about restrictions, the FAI are very quick to release an email with all of the information. Dr. Alan Byrne and Carl have done fantastic videos, as of yourself. We're all used to Zooms now and trying to live with the way we are. But for you guys trying to put on paper for clubs and coaches, I managed St. Patrick's 19s myself, and you're trying to make sure that everybody can play properly, but at the same time be safe from professional level to the underage level, and you're trying to deal with government, a new government, and deal with your own doctor and stuff. How is all that been, and trying to just make sure that it makes sense for everybody, and we can all try and be involved in the game as safely as possible?
Well, I think it's testimony to the group that's here. I said earlier the amount of people that I met in here that I didn't even know worked in the FAI, who I knew from football, and I thought, well, I didn't know you worked in the FAI, and the work that they do, it goes unheralded. It hasn't been the narrative for the last 18 months, as you know, maybe never was to the extent it deserved to be. And I can remember one of the meetings going on till midnight Cahill to get stuff out for the next morning so the teams didn't go training to break the rules that had come in on that Friday evening. And we got some criticism from clubs that, you didn't tell us in time. But we couldn't actually physically get it out there till the NFET meeting finished. It was a late evening meeting. We then had to come together on a Zoom. I think there was a lot of people on that Zoom call, and we were putting in, drafts. Can we say this? Can we say that? And it went on till after midnight, and we got some criticism, but it was all done to avoid, people unwittingly breaking the rules by going out and having training sessions that weekend. That was the one helter-skelter one I think that stands out. We kind of got better at managing it, and I say we, the guys got better at managing it, knowing what was, when it was coming, what was coming, and how we would quickly adapt what was said and what was expected of us as an association. So, look, they've been great, the people in here, and that's the bit that really is the standout worry for Monday, is that those people who have done nothing but good stuff for the association and are here, whose families depend on them being here, that they'll have the worry is that they might have the scope to kick on. It doesn't bear thinking about in that sense, but it's there. It's an issue. So I hope they're number one on my list for why I hope this comes there. And there are others, within the game, that goes right through to grassroots, to the coaches, the parents, the football administrators, the committees. There's so much right through the pros, the players. I mean, this whole COVID-19 has really posed serious questions of Irish football, and from what I've seen, people are doing so well, considering, and it'll almost be, I know it'll be behind closed doors, but to see our senior team line out, wear the jersey with pride in a match that we'll all look on, I think that will be almost like a vindication for all the work that everybody has done here, and hopefully there'll be no last minute problems with that. So excited, when the squad was announced yesterday. I became a fan for the day. It was great back thinking about football again.
Yeah, the fans, and you mentioned Stephen Kenny's first game at TV, will have no fans. The League of Ireland games, Mark said there, doesn't feel there'll be fans back this year at all.
Might be, yeah.
And I've been at games Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, almost like the lads since it started. I feel so safe working in the stadiums. The seats are done in such a way that the bigger stadiums, you could definitely, in my opinion, have more people there in a safe way to support. I know Dr. Ronan Glynn did a video last week to explain it's not actually in the stadium, it's around the stadium. Yeah. But there is a sense of football fans that they feel like they are being told they can't go when pubs are open and there's parties going on. What's your sense of that, and just how tough it is for Irish football fans that they can't go to the Aviva next week and fit 8,000 people in a 55,000 seater stadium?
Yeah, I think having Alan Byrne in and around that decision-making group is vital to us, and I also believe that the government have been very good to us. Well, hope that'll come to fruition on Monday. I've seen other associations. I know the GAA got annoyed with the announcement and put some pressure on. I still believe with where we are as an association and what we're trying to achieve, that we have to listen. It's tough to take, and we do get frustrated, but I'm of the opinion that we must follow orders. We still must follow orders, because the numbers have crept up. Well, they've more than crept up. They've bounced up again in terms of those who are, positive. So, as much as I would like to, I don't think it's right for the organisation to start giving out to go. And I think that's a start of an affront to all the people who the frontline workers who are doing all the work they're doing. I think, it would be wrong to suddenly start picking holes in there. It doesn't suit us, but I think we have to behave responsibly.
And lastly for me, speaking of former teammates of yours, what did you make of Jason McAteer's comments about Brian Kerr, and in return Stephen Kenny, because it has had a lot of reaction? And
that would do, because that's what Jason does, and Jason knew he was going to do that. I think he actually said it. This is going to get a big reaction. Let me tell you, all I know is any player I've ever known who didn't get picked by a manager, or who felt he was played in the wrong position or didn't get the best out of him, always blames the manager. And that's going to be the way. And anybody who gives out about manager years to come will always be the ones that didn't click, didn't get on, career didn't improve. I look back, I actually started thinking about my own managers when I heard that. I was going, what would I have said about my managers? I had, different managers with different strengths. George Graham was a real tough disciplinarian. Howard Kendall was a guy who made me express myself, freedom, to do things that I never had before. Don Howe was really defensive. He was my first manager. Everything was about defending. I thought I was a striker, but I've been asked to be a defender. But he was right. He knew far more than me. And right the way through, Jack was just it was odd at times, but it worked, and so we all loved it. But one thing I do know, the one I enjoyed the most was Bobby Saxton at Sunderland. He just got the best out of me, and everything he did is game plan for every player, not just me. And when I look back, I'd Alan Ball as well, and even though we got relegated, there was some fabulous training sessions. But when I look back, I'd give out about George Graham, who won titles, because he didn't pick me. He picked Alan Smith instead of me, and I think we do that. We look at who's the one who I did not play the best for. Oh, he was the one, and I just know one thing, that Chris Hughton and Brian Kerr put on fabulous sessions. I know that from lots of other people, and have done in the past, and have brought spirit together. Neither of them need to be even questioned.
And Noel O'Reilly, of course.
The great Noel. I came across a photograph of Noel. Somebody gave me a programme from the Ireland-England youth game at Tolka Park many years ago that I played in. Tommy McDermott scored the winner, and there's a great group photograph in that programme of Noel with the gang with long hair. And it took me back. I mean, they were some of the best days. I was lucky. Arsenal stopped me from joining a lot of squads, but when I got there, I particularly remember a time in Wales when we met up and spent some time in Wales together. That was huge. That was my first international representative. I didn't have a schoolboy cap. Playing for Brian Kerr, Liam Toohey initially, Brian Kerr and Noel, and having them around. I mean, that was just the experience I got there compared to where I was at Arsenal. I was way down the pecking order. I have nothing but good things to say about my time with them, and it's news. I suppose it's not news that I think is important. I don't think Stephen would bat an eye at it.
No, he won't. I just think it was more so that when he was asked, he was like, he managed the under-23s with Jordan, which there is no 23s, it's 21s, and he said he managed in Ireland and in Scotland. Like, as someone who's played the game and you've played the game, when Stephen walks in with the lads whenever they meet up and he speaks to them as passionately as he does, they will want to run through a brick wall for him. I don't know why Jason would think otherwise, or would think about his his qualification when he's managing the Europa League group stages. Yeah,
I think sometimes there are players who do broadcast, do podcasts, do whatever, and they get into flow of things and they say something, and he knew, he kind of probably might have been pre-planned, I don't know, but it doesn't mean we agree with it. Yeah. And I just think, I suppose the question I would ask you, or it would be, how do you think we felt when it came, Gary I and the the international department, when it came to making the decision between him and Mick, etc. And how, what was our thoughts, on it? And that's when we dug deep on everything about Stephen. And I think if Jason had that access, he wouldn't have said what he said, and he certainly wouldn't have brought Brian Kerr into the equation. I've great confidence in Stephen and what he will try and achieve with this particular group right now, and where it can go. It'll prove to being the correct decision to appoint him, because we're asking him to create a new football identity. Will it appear against Bulgaria and we all say, oh yeah, that's it, we're done now? No, that would be wrong to even suggest that could happen. I think over a period of time, that the type of football that Stephen wants to play, the type of football that he got his 21s to play, and some of those, as you know, are coming through, that augurs well in the creation of football identity. The type of football that all of our international team managers are putting in place now, the type of sessions that are there, they're out of this world from what I've seen in the past, and that's what counts. It's not a story about what Jason was doing or dragging Brian Kerr or Chris Hughton into it. It's I think the focus, if we're looking at the players and what to come in, they'll be taking part in sessions. They'll be asked to play a game that they'll feel great playing. It's just getting the confidence in and making them believe in it to the point that that they'll run with it, and that they'll and not run with it because of him. They'll run with themselves, that they're able to achieve more playing this way than they ever would have, and that's his job, to get them to do that, and we're backing him to do it. We're not backing him to have it done by the end of the first game. We're backing this identity to happen over a period of time, and it's going to need patience. It really is, but I hope there's signs there I think that's what everyone will look for, that there'll be signs in those early games that that this thing, you know, is starting to take a different course. And that's the most we can ask for. And as for the Jason thing, you know, it fills a few lines for one day, but that'll be complete history and consigned to the nonsense bin, you know, as quickly as possible.